Every time you silence your truth, your voice, you lose a piece of yourself. Your voice, your light, your gifts and contributions, and your self-esteem shrinks. Instead, speak your truth no matter what, even if your voice shakes, even when you are uncomfortable, afraid, even when you are scared or shy, because your voice matters. And using it is how you begin to remember your value and self-worth. It might feel messy in the beginning. Go be messy. It might feel scary. Be scared and do it anyways. But your voice is how you return to yourself, to your heart. And each time you use it, you rebuild your self-esteem, your self-worth, brick by brick, conversation by conversation. This podcast is for the soul who knows there is more, the one who's been carrying it all for far too long. If you're ready to let go of old stories, to stop replaying the past and start living from your truth, you're in the right place. This is your moment to release the noise and reconnect to what's real. Welcome to Baggage Begun, Healing Hearts and Minds. I'm Tami Mahmali. Now, let me ask you this. Have you ever been in a relationship where you kept giving and giving and giving while getting less and less in return? You're holding it all together on the outside, cooking, cleaning, supporting, smiling, but on the inside, you're tired, you're resentful, you feel invisible, like you're slowly losing pieces of yourself just to keep the peace. If that sounds familiar, then this episode right here just for you. And today we are talking about 4 sneaky things, the cheaper way at our self-worth in relationships. We are talking about settling for crumbs and calling it intimacy and love. Staying quiet when our heart's begging to speak up and say our truth. Over-explaining, justifying, just to feel understood, and making excuses for people who don't show up for us. It's real talk, and it's time to flip the script, because here's the truth. Your love is a gift. You are a gift. Your voice matters, and your self-worth, that's non-negotiable. Let's get into it. What do you accept? What do you allow? That's what people learn to accept from you. Every time you say yes when you mean no, every time you bite your tongue just to keep the peace, every time you let someone cross a line without saying a word, you're teaching others how to treat you. Not with so much words, but with your energy and actions. With what you tolerate, with what you let slide, with what you let go. And I know that's a hard thing to process, especially when you're a giver and you've got a big heart. When you have always been the one giving, always holding it down, always being the strong one. But here's the truth. If you have been ghosted, if people keep crossing your boundaries, if you keep wondering, what am I doing wrong? Maybe it's not about what you are doing. Maybe it's about what you are allowing, and that comes through your energy. People can sense it without many words from the second you enter the door. And that's where things start to change. Before I break down the 4 ways we unknowingly chip away at our self-esteem, self-worth in relationships, let me share something personal with you. Because this is not something I read in a book or learned in a weekend course. This is a lived experience. I myself used to think love, intimacy meant sacrificing myself, proving my self-worth by overdoing and overgiving. That if I just loved harder, gave more, stayed quiet, avoided conflict, I will be enough. I ignored the little things that hurt, I stayed when I wanted to leave. I pretended I was fine when I was falling apart inside. I told myself that that was kindness, that was maturity, that was intimate love, but underneath that was fear. Fear of not being good enough, fear of abandonment, fear of being too much, fear that if I spoke up, I would lose them. So I became what I thought they wanted me to be. I walked on eggshells. I made myself small. I kept the peace, but slowly I was drifting away. I was disappearing. I didn't see it then. Every time I gave without receiving, every time I swallowed my truth and I kept small, it was costing me something big. Me, my self-worth. It was costing me my self-worth. And one day I looked in the mirror and I didn't recognize the woman looking back. My energy was low. I was exhausted, resentful, angry, and heartbroken. That was the moment that woke me up and opened the door for a big shift. I realized I wasn't being accepted, acknowledged, or loved for who I was, my gifts, my contributions, because I was playing a part, a persona. I was being tolerated. And the one doing the most damage, guess who? Was me. When I took 100% responsibility for my part, that was the realization that changed everything. It sent me on a journey, not of fixing myself or shaming myself, but of understanding where all of this came from, all this baggage, the root cause of my behavior. I looked back at my childhood, at what I saw in my home, my family, my parents, the culture, surroundings, at the ways I learned that a woman's job was to give and give and give and never ask for much in return. The women in my family, they were strong, beautiful, powerful, capable, hardworking, yet they were tired. They did too much because this training had gone on for generations. But still, they were invisible. And without even realizing it, I picked up those same patterns. But here's what I want you to hear. Just because you inherited something doesn't mean you have to keep it. Just because you saw it growing up doesn't mean it's your truth now. At some point, you get to say, this ends with me. And that's what I did. Through deep healing, especially subconscious mind work with the hypnosis, I started to clear those old limiting beliefs. I stopped chasing people who were emotionally unavailable. I stopped over-explaining and proving my self-worth. I stopped settling for crumbs and calling it intimacy, love. And once I made those shifts inside, everything outside started to change. It was like clearing the fog from a mirror and finally seeing myself clearly again. Here are the 4 things that quietly but powerfully tear down our self-worth in relationships, and more importantly, what to do instead. First, settling for the bare minimum, lowering our standards. Are you always the one calling first, chasing? Always the one apologizing, always the one trying to keep in the connection alive while the other person gives you crumbs? That's not intimacy and love. That's a one-woman show, and it's exhausting. When you keep accepting the bare minimum, you're training your nervous system and heart to believe that almost is better than being alone. That, well, at least they texted back is good enough. But let me tell you, it's not. That's you doing all the emotional heavy lifting while they show up when it's easy. And over time, that wears on you and changes you. Your spirit starts to believe that this is what a real intimate relationship is supposed to feel and look like. Empty, confusing, one-sided. But real intimate relationship, I'm not just talking about sex here, if you know what I mean, fills your cup. It gives back. It pours into you. Real intimacy is built on respect, trust, truth, allowance, acceptance, and vulnerability. It doesn't leave you questioning your values or your self-worth. It shows up consistently, without begging, without chasing. So here's what you do instead. Raise your standards, stop performing, start partnering, check the requirements for real intimacy. And if they are not there, think again. Intimacy in relationship is mutual. You're trying to prove you have a right to exist. And every time you do that, you're telling yourself and them, maybe my truth needs permission. I need to prove myself. I need validation. But it doesn't. Let me say this loud and clear. Your feelings are valid. You are a gift to humanity, purely just because you exist. You're part of God's creation. Period. You don't owe anyone a thing. You don't owe anyone a PowerPoint presentation on why your boundaries matters. You don't need to explain your past, your trauma, or your triggers, or justify why something left off. The right people won't make you beg to be understood. They will lean in, they will listen, they will care, they will accept you just as you are. You don't need to convince someone to treat you with respect. You just believe that you're worth it and act like it. That's when everything starts to shift. You bring the energy. Put the effort and energy into finding yourself and coming home to you, your truth. Third, staying quiet to keep the peace. Maybe you have convinced yourself that silence is powerful, that avoiding conflict is mature. I don't want to start a fight. I hear it a lot. But staying silent when your heart and soul are screaming, "Hello, I'm here," that's not peace. That's dimming your light. Becoming a kitten when you are a lioness, a cougar. Losing yourself, that's a shadow version of you. Every time you silence your truth, your voice, you lose a piece of yourself. Your voice, your light, your gifts and contributions, and your self-esteem shrinks. Instead, speak your truth no matter what, even if your voice shakes, even when you are uncomfortable, afraid, even when you are scared or shy, because your voice matters. And using it is how you begin to remember your value and self-worth. It might feel messy in the beginning. Go be messy. It might feel scary. Be scared and do it anyways. But your voice is how you return to yourself, to your heart. And each time you use it, you rebuild your self-esteem, your self-worth, brick by brick, conversation by conversation. Fourth, making excuses for their behavior. You ever find yourself saying, "Oh, they're just going through a lot right now. They didn't mean it like that. They are not always like this." I did it a lot. Yeah, I see you. I've been there too. You want to believe the best in people. You are loyal. You lead with love. You are wired for empathy, compassion, so you try to understand them before you even check in with yourself. But when you are constantly making excuses for someone else's behavior, you start to doubt yourself. You start to doubt your own gut feelings. You push down what you really feel to protect their image. That's not compassion. That's self-abandonment. You can love someone and still decide their behavior it's not okay with you. You can have a big heart and still have boundaries. You can care deeply and still choose you. Put yourself first. Will it feel hard and uncomfortable first? Oh yeah. You will question yourself, you will feel guilty, but every time you choose to honor your reality, to honor yourself, instead of explaining yourself, you're building trust with yourself, and that's where real shift begins. This is being authentic. Self-worth is not something someone hands you. It's something you build, you practice step by step. It grows when you take action, set boundaries, and start believing in yourself. It comes from choosing you again and again and again. And when you do that, everything changes. You stop begging for love and intimacy. You stop performing for approval. You stop explaining or proving your self-value. You stop twisting and turning yourself to stay in someone else's life. Instead, you show up as yourself, as your fullest, most grounded self, and that energy, it draws in relationships that feel right, healthy, safe, balanced, and real. You stop shrinking to fit into someone else's world. You stand tall in your own light, power. You start living your truth with your energy clear, your standards strong, and your self-respect leading the way. And it shows with your energy. People can sense it. So if you're tired of feeling unseen, like you're losing yourself just to belong, let this be your reminder. You're not too much. You're not broken. You're simply honoring your values and living your truth. You're realizing that intimacy and love is not about losing yourself. It's about finding your way back home to who you really are, being authentic and congruent. It starts with letting go of what never truly respected, accepted, and honored you, and saying yes to love that meets you where you're worth it. And saying yes to a love that meets you where you're worth it. You're already on this path, and I'm so proud you're here. If you're ready to go deeper, to heal the roots, clear the baggage you never asked for, and finally feel free, reach out. That's the work we do here. That's the heart of Baggage Begun, healing hearts and mind. Until next time, honor your truth, guard your energy and your heart. Remember, you're a masterpiece in progress. Thank you for being here today. I'm so grateful you're here, and I truly hope this was helpful to you. If it resonates with you, please share it with someone who could use a little reminder of the word today. And I see you next week. Thank you. I'm Tammy, sending you so much love and gratitude.
If you're curious and want to dive deeper, you are in the right space. I ask you to look within for all the things that you want to do, be, and have. Join me at the Baggage Begun Healing Hearts and Minds podcast with new episodes every Wednesday as we discover the path towards healing and transformation.